Zach Wilson described it as an ugly win in his first comment to reporters, but a win is a win and Jets fans will take it. I'm Glenn Naughton with Jet Nation Radio and JetNation.com. Be sure to log into JetNation.com where you can register and become a part of what is the most active Jets message board on the web. Jets beat the Steelers 24-20 in Pittsburgh. They jump out to an early lead thanks to a Greg Zuerlein field goal, followed by the Jets' version of the Philly special, which results in Braxton Berrios hitting Zach Wilson in the end zone inside the 5-yard line for a touchdown, puts the Jets up 10-0. Later in the half, Zach Wilson throws a pick deep in Pittsburgh territory. The Steelers get a little return out of it. Looks like the Jets get off the field on defense, but a Carl Lawson penalty leads to a Pittsburgh field goal attempt. And as I tweeted out during the game, if you have been following this team for long enough, when Pittsburgh lined up for that field goal, a 59-yarder, as the announcer said, that would be the longest in history in that ballpark, whatever it's called now. It's not Heinz, whatever it is. I don't care if that was a 94-yard attempt. I knew it was good. I knew it. I've been watching this team long enough to know they just shot themselves in the foot. They had momentum. They had a chance to not so much put the game out of reach, but damn near put it out of reach if they scored late in the half. And an interception followed by a dumb penalty. And I just knew, give the Steelers the points now. This guy's going to drill this 59-yarder right down the middle. And boom, 59-yarder right down the middle. We've got a ball game. Zach Wilson from that point looked really sloppy for much of the early portion of this game. But in defense of Zach Wilson, there were some drops. I counted 5 or 6 drops early on for the Jets. Garrett Wilson had some. We saw one from Breece Hall. Really, Hall, that was a bad throw from Wilson. If he hits Hall and leads him down the right sideline, you're talking deep, 80-some yard touchdown pass. Instead, incomplete pass. Hall gets crashed into by a defender. No flag. Ball falls to the ground, incomplete. But Zach Wilson, all in all, finishes 18 of 36, 50%. That's ugly. We saw the missed screens and swings, which were an issue last year. He throws for 252. But late in the game, when the Jets had to have it, when the game was on the line and the Jets are down a couple scores, Zach Wilson leads the Jets down the field, hits Corey Davis for a touchdown. Corey Davis, he of the 15 consecutive catches since dropping his first pass of the season. I know myself and many others had said that everybody ripping Corey Davis was going to end up eating their words because this was a very good player whose first season with the Jets was an anomaly. The drops, the fumbles, the whatever, all the miscues, those were freak plays. Nothing in Corey Davis' history suggests that would be an issue moving forward. After dropping his first pass this year, it has not been an issue. He has actually made some fantastic catches in the early going this year. Made another one today on a ball, really a great throw from Zach. He had to put it in a spot where only Davis could get it, had to keep it away from the safety, but catchable for Davis, meaning Davis had to sort of hit the deck, slide a little bit while dropping to the ground, pull it in a big spot. He made the catch, so huge game for Corey Davis. Zach Wilson, you've got to give him credit for the big throws he made. He was far from perfect. Okay, again, 5 drops, that sure as hell didn't help him. But missing the swings and screens, that didn't help him either. So Zach Wilson didn't do himself a ton of favors. One of his interceptions, of course, was the ball off of Tyler Conklin's hands that went into the waiting arms of a Pittsburgh DB. So that one wasn't really on Wilson so much. So shaky early for Wilson is what it boils down to. He was shaky early. Tons of pressure. And he had to deal with that. Made some really fantastic plays, getting rid of the ball, escaping pressure, and things that we knew that we said that Joe Flacco wasn't capable of. Once Zach Wilson comes back, you'll be able to roll him out. He'll be able to scramble. You'll be able to do some things with him that you can't necessarily do with other quarterback, or that you couldn't do with Flacco. And now you saw it today with Wilson. So again, wasn't perfect, but was damn near perfect when it counted most. His last couple drives led the Jets down the field to score, get the 24-20 victory. And really, players of the game in this one, there's a few guys who really stood out. Really, just you got to give credit where it's due, and you got to highlight some individual performances here. First and foremost, Elijah Vera Tucker. Surprise start at left tackle where the Jets, we thought it was going to be Connor McDermott. This is really, if you've been following Jet Nation Radio, the couple of different versions of it we've done over the years, and you remember me talking a couple of years ago about what the Jets should do in round 1, I remember saying, you need a guard, but you got to draft a guy who can play tackle in a pinch. Mainly because of Mekhi Becton's injury history. So leading up to this class, there were a couple of guards, and AVT was one of them, that you thought he might not be your starting left tackle. He's going to be a good guard, but if you need him in a tough spot, maybe he starts at left tackle for you. And the Jets did that today with Elijah Vera Tucker. Filled in, did a really nice job, stepped in and stepped up. AVT at left tackle. To me, Zach Wilson aside, AVT gets the game ball because really, if it's Connor McDermott in there, the Jets probably don't score a point today. Connor McDermott, listen, I'm sorry. He may be the nicest dude in the world. He might be someone you love to sit and have a beer with, but he's just not good. And if he's in there, Zach Wilson doesn't have a chance to make plays today, and the Jets lose this football game. So anything that happened today, in my mind, was made possible by Elijah Vera Tucker sliding over to left tackle from right guard. And listen, I know it's not ideal, but let's allow this to be a lesson for people. I've seen people lose their damn minds when you suggest that an offensive lineman switch positions in season. Listen, ideal? No. Far from it. Impossible? No. Far from it. We've seen guys do it. We saw it today. We saw a guy who played left guard all of last year and right guard all of this year until flipping a left tackle. There wasn't a bye week. There wasn't extended time to prepare. It was a normal practice week, and Elijah Vera Tucker slid over to left tackle, and he did a damn good job. That doesn't mean everyone can do it, but the number of people I see lose their minds when you suggest that maybe you flip a guy from this spot to that spot out of desperation, as if you're asking them to move mountains. Again, not ideal? No. Possible? Yes. So AVT, game ball. Zach Wilson, game ball. Great job. As I said, late in the contest, Jets needed big plays. When they gave him a little bit of time to work with, sat back, picked Pittsburgh apart, got the Jets the 2 touchdowns they needed. And LaMarcus Joyner, let's give him a little bit of credit. We saw some great coverage early on a deep ball against Pittsburgh, and then he comes away with the game-ending pick on a Hail Mary. And earlier in the game, picked off a tipped pass. So did a really nice job getting himself a couple of interceptions after, let's face it, struggling mightily through the first few games of the year. And I said before the game, I put out a quick, sort of previewing the game, a last-second glance at the game. And I said if these safeties don't get better, a move has to be made because they have been killing the Jets. So hopefully this is LaMarcus Joyner getting comfortable in this defense because he was making plays today. First time this year we've seen, this type of play from the safeties. The corners are set. These guys are good. Reed and Sauce, these guys can play. More good football from Sauce today. You just he's 3-4 games into his career. You expect it already. You're already not surprised when Sauce Gardner makes a play. And he's already faced some fantastic receivers, done a great job. The D-line. 3 sacks, so they didn't exactly light the world on fire, but they were sacks in big spots that they had to have. Not some of the garbage time stuff we saw last week. Jermaine Johnson gets a sack. Carl Lawson gets a sack. Quinnen Williams, who didn't look winded at all, gets a sack. So the defense, and again, I get it. You're facing Mitch Trubisky, who then comes out, and then you're facing Kenny Pickett. Not exactly, you're not shutting down Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. I completely understand. But you still saw the secondary do a really nice job against the run. The Jets weren't bad. Najee Harris averaged 4.1 a carry, 74 carries on 18 yards, but they kept him out of the end zone. Really, it was Kenny Pickett. I believe he had both. He had 2 rushing touchdowns for Kenny Pickett, who, he for being a guy making his debut, he didn't look bad. 10 out of 13 for 120, but he threw a few INTs. The last one, of course, the Hail Mary. But all in all, listen. The Jets haven't been very good for a long time. And as, again, with the theme being here, this was an ugly win. There is no denying that. But if you look at the fact that over the years, we've watched teams getting ugly wins while they find their way. And that's kind of where the Jets were today, right? As I said, in years past, they lose this game 100 times out of 100. But today, they made the plays when they had to. It would have been nice to see them move the ball on the ground a little bit more. I'm not sure why. I'd have to see the charts, but it really feels like 80-90% of their runs are right up the middle. And I get it that the O-line isn't ideal right now, but when you have a guy, to me, like Breece Hall, I'm going to try to get him outside, get him in space a little bit, make a guy miss. How many times do we say Breece Hall get the ball today, and before he took a second step, he was wrapped up? We just saw it again and again, up the middle, up the middle, up the middle. And it got frustrating. And Breece Hall nearly broke a touchdown run late in the game when they finally ran him to the outside. He got it, I think he was pushed out of the 3-yard line. So some things have to change there, but you're a little bit sympathetic toward LaFleur in the offense because, let's face it, you've got your O-line. I mean, you got Herbig playing guard to fill in for AVT. The reason AVT, the reason AVT is playing on the left because you want to avoid McDermott. The reason you're down to McDermott is because you lost Fant and you lost Mekhi Becton and you lost Wayne Brown, and you're down to your fourth tackle. So now you're using your guard at tackle and then your backup guard at guard, and it's ugly. They're shuffling, but this is, as in the past, we, as Jets fans, we sit back and watch teams as they're making that climb toward becoming relevant. Part of the trademark of that is you're a good team, but you haven't found your way yet, and you're making a lot of mistakes, but you're still winning while you're making the mistakes. So 1-2 with Joe Flacco, as myself and many others have said, this was really for the Jets, for their fans, for evaluating where this team is right now. Today was week 1 because you had your quarterback, and your quarterback looked bad early, but your quarterback stepped up late. As I said, made the big boy throws when he had to make them. We saw the defense step up and make some plays against, yes, an admittedly, questionably talented duo of quarterbacks. Well, inexperience in one case and talent in the other. But it's a road game. This is a team that in the past few years hasn't won a lot of games. They're 2-2. The Jets are a 500 team in September. I mean, when was the last time we could say that? So Miami is up next. What's going to happen with Tua? Who knows? I mean, he won't be playing. But I mean, for the rest of this year, and what a debacle that was. Good God. I mean, Jesus, I got Dolphins fans mad at me because I'm concerned about their quarterback. How crazy is that? How dare you talk about our front office for nearly getting a guy killed? Just a terrible job by the Dolphins. Terrible. Anyway, Jets have them next. Who's up for Miami? We don't know. We will see in the coming days. And the Jets, 2-2, playing for get themselves over 500 for the first time in what feels like about a decade. That'll do it for me tonight. That'll do it for the Jets this Sunday, and we will be back Thursday night, myself and Dylan Terman with Jet Nation Live, to wrap this up, to preview the Dolphins, and to talk some draft prospects. Have a good one, Jets fans.